Hey guys, welcome back. This is the lecture number 66 from our bootcamp series. In this lecture, we will discuss about action controller in detail. So, action controller represents the C in MVC architecture. This is the logical center of your Rails application. It acts as a mediator between the views and the model. It makes the model data available for the view to display on the browser. So, whenever a client makes a request from the browser, the request first comes to the router. After the router has determined which controller to use for a request, the controller is responsible for making sense of the request and producing the appropriate output. For example, let's open the students list page in your browser. Okay, so here is the students index page, and now go to the Rails server. Okay, make some space on the terminal and now refresh the page at the browser. So here we have refreshed the page. Okay, now here come back to the Rails server, and here you can see that the request is coming to the Rails server. Okay, and the server sends the request to the routes, and then router identifies the controller and action of this controller which is responsible to serve this request. Let me first increase the font size. Okay. Here you can see that when you refresh the page, the request is coming to the index section of the student's controller. And here you can see that started get students and processing by students controller index as html. Okay, and at students controller, let's see the index section. Here we have write the query that at the rate students equal to student dot all, and this action is fetching all the students from the database. So here the controller is communicating with the student model, and then after receiving the query response, it renders the response to the view. Now let's check it at the server. So here you can see that it is processed by students controller index section, and in that index section it is first executing a query. Okay, and then you can see that this arrow icon, this one, and it is rendering that response into the index.html.erb. Now let's open the index.html.erb of students. So come to the views and open the index.html.erb into students file. Here you can see the line number 13 where we are iterating to the collection of the student. And at the server, you can also see that it is rendering the content at the app views students index.html.erb and line number 13. Here you can see the line. Okay. And the next line rendering students index.html.erb within layout. So a template is always rendered within some layout, and so far we have only application layout. So this is rendering the index file into this layout. Okay, and then it renders the layout inside the application.html.erb, and here you can see the status of the request which is 200. Okay, that means our request has been successfully executed. So this is the basic of the controller, and this is the most important concept to keep in mind always. Okay, this is what computer do in your Rails application. Now the other thing for controller to keep in mind is that the naming convention of a controller. Generally the plural naming is preferable and ideal, but it is not strictly required. For example, let's see in the students controller that here we have created this student controller for the student resource. So we just pluralize this by appending s to the making the model name plural here. Okay, but if here you can see that we have a welcome controller which is not in plural form, it is singular. And also you can see that application controller is also singular. So plural is preferable but not strictly required. Okay, but you should always try to pluralize your resource controller. Okay, for example, whenever you create a controller for any resource in your application, let's say blogs, courses, projects, students, then always try to make its it a plural controller. Okay, now, a controller is a Ruby class which inherits from application controller. Here you can see that a student controller is inherited from application controller. blocks controller is also inherited from application controller, and so are others controller like courses, projects, and welcome. Okay, and this application controller itself inherited from the action controller base, so it has everything which is available in the action controller base library. So when you inherit any of your controller from application controller, then it means you are using the features available in the action controller base. Okay, now as I said that a controller is a Ruby class which inherits from application controller and has methods just like any other classes. So here you can see that it just seems like a Ruby class. Okay, and these are the methods that we can consider in any Ruby class. Okay, when your application receives a request, the routing will determine that which controller and action to run. Okay, so here you can see that we re- received the request at the student's index controller, and you can check this for others controller as well, other actions as well. Let's say click on the new student. Okay, so when we click on the new student, you can see that a form is open on the browser, and you can see that this is processed by students controller new action. Okay, and when you submit this student, it says let's try to submit the form. Here are some validations, but you can see that this request is served by the students controllers create action. Okay, and now similarly you can see, let's say just go back to the list page, and when you click on the view, now the controller is coming to the show action, and now the request is coming to the show action of the students controller. So here you can see that it is processed by students controller show as HTML. Okay, so these are the methods which works as a action. Okay, and you just need to keep in mind that only public methods of the controller are available as actionable routes. Okay, not private and protected. For example, you can see that we have two private methods, and we cannot use these student params and set students as controller action. Why? Because these are private or protected. So if you want to make an action into your controller which should be if you want to implement a method in your controller which should be served as action, then make it public, not in the private or protected section. Okay, because you cannot make any action as private or protected. Okay, now when your application receives a request, the routing will determine the controller and action to run, and then Rails create an instance of that controller and runs the method which is the same name as the action. Okay. Now, one more thing, that controller can accept params as well to perform logical operations, and these params can be available in the form of either URL params or in the form data. For example, if let's say here you are submitting this request. Okay, so this is the params, this is the ID of the student, it is available in the URL. Okay, so now when you see at the console, you can see that it is coming with the parameters ID. Okay, and if you edit this link, let's make a request for the edit action. Okay, so here the form for editing the student is appeared, and it is also accepting receiving an argument as ID. Okay, and here you can see the argument. Okay, so this is the URL params you can say, and you can also make custom URL params as well. Let's say by question mark you can create a query string. Let's say stu name equal to, let's say, active. Okay, so now when you submit this request, you can see this in param as well. So this is coming as stu name and active. So you can define your custom query string as well to operate the logic in the controller action. And when you submit a form, let's say if I submit this form, let's say Indore, India, and some contact number and some contact number here as well. Now make some space on the terminal and click on the update student button. Okay, so here you can see that the information has been updated, and now here you can see that the request is coming at the update action of the students controller, and here it is coming with the some form parameters. and you can see that it is also coming with the id and parameters, authenticity token, and then all the parameter attributes of the student are coming in a hash named as student. Okay, and these parameters are operated into the controller. So the whenever you submit a form, the your parameters must be considered as strong parameters. Okay, because if your parameters are not strong, then you can get forbidden attributes error. And here with the hash name students, you can see that all parameters are available in the params hash. So let's open the student param action in your controller. So here you can see that what we have done, that params dot require, and we pass the hash name here, and hash name could be anything, but usually is the model instance name, and then we are permitting the params here. So you can see that we permitted first name, last name, email, date of birth, and all the attribute of the students. Okay, so this is how controller accepts the parameters. Okay, and controllers also allow you to use callbacks and filters. Okay, in the next lecture we will discuss about controller callbacks in more details, but just for an example, in students controller you can look at the before action callback. The before action callback means that whatever method you defined as a before action callback, it will get executed before any action which you mentioned here in only or except section. Before the action executes its logic or action executes its query or whatever the code you have written there. So before executing your snippet, your before action callback will get executed. Okay, and this callback in our students controller is for setting an student for all the member actions. You can write thin controllers and using callback for that. Okay, because the callback allow you to keep common piece of snippet at a single place. For example, look at the member actions of the students controller. We know that for show action we require the id of an student, because unless we have an id we cannot fetch the student from the database. To edit action we require the id of the student, so we need an student to fetch from the database. Okay, and in update and destroy as well, because when we try to update an existing student we must fetch it from database, and when we try to delete an existing student we must fetch it from database. So here you can see that this query is required at all the four actions: show, edit, update, and destroy. So this is the common piece of code, and we separated it using a callback here, before action callback, and so that's why we have written thin controller here. Okay, so this is how callbacks can help you to write thin controllers. Okay, and this is all about the controller from this lecture. However, there is a lot more to read and learn about controllers, and you can find the link of the rails guide document about the controller into the description of this video. In the next lecture we will discuss about controller callbacks, where we will see after action, before action callbacks to make our controller thin and write efficient controllers and very good looking controllers you can say for now. So that's all about from this lecture. So thanks for watching this, and let's meet into the next lecture. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.